2,000 years ago, in a small stone house, in a dusty village in Galilee, a man sat down to eat. No fancy restaurant, no long menu, no food delivery arriving at the door, just a wooden table, a clay bowl, a small fire still burning from the morning. That man was Jesus. And what he put in his mouth that day would absolutely shock you. Not because it was strange, not because it was exotic, but because it was so simple, so clean, so pure. In a world today filled with processed food, artificial ingredients, and meals designed in laboratories, what Jesus ate every single day looks almost unbelievable. 7 foods, all natural, all grown from the ground. Foods mentioned right inside your Bible, hiding in plain sight for 2,000 years. And here is the part that will really get you. Modern science is now proving what these ancient people already knew. These 7 foods are not just historically fascinating, they are genuinely, powerfully, incredibly good for the human body. So today, we are going back to a first-century kitchen in ancient Israel, back to the table where Jesus sat, back to 7 foods that changed history and might just change how you eat today. Let's begin. Before we talk about the food, we need to talk about the world, because if you do not understand the world Jesus lived in, you will not truly understand what made these foods so special. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine waking up before sunrise. No alarm clock, no phone notification, just the sound of birds outside your stone window and the smell of morning air coming through an open door. You live in a small village called Galilee. The roads are made of dirt. The houses are made of stone. Your neighbors are farmers and fishermen, simple people, hard-working people. There is no market down the street. No supermarket 3 minutes away. Everything you eat today, you or someone in your village grew, harvested, pressed, baked, or caught with their own hands. Food here is not convenient. Food here is sacred. Every meal takes work. Every ingredient has meaning. Every bite is connected to the land and to God. This is the world Jesus walked through every single day. He sat with farmers. He ate with fishermen. He broke bread with the poorest families in the most forgotten villages. And the food on those tables was extraordinary, not because it was expensive, but because it was real. So let us sit down at that ancient table together, and let us discover one by one. Food number 1, bread, the foundation of every table. The first food will not surprise you, but what you do not know about it absolutely will. Bread. In first-century Israel, bread was not a side dish. Bread was not something you ordered extra at a restaurant. Bread was the meal, the center of every table. Every morning, every evening, every celebration, every ordinary day. The Bible mentions bread more than 400 times. 400 times. That single number tells you everything you need to know about how important this food was. When Jesus taught his disciples to pray, he said, "Give us this day our daily bread." He was not speaking poetically. He was speaking about something his people needed, physically, deeply, every single day, to survive. But here is where it gets interesting. This was not the soft, white, fluffy bread you find on supermarket shelves today. This was something completely different. Dense, dark, flat, made from barley or whole wheat, ground by hand on a stone right inside the home, mixed with water, sometimes a pinch of salt, baked on a hot flat stone over an open fire. It had texture, it had weight, it had substance. And it was packed, absolutely packed, with fiber, nutrients, and slow-burning energy that kept hard-working people strong, from before sunrise until after sunset. Archaeological excavations across ancient Israel have found grinding stones inside almost every single home they have discovered. Every home had one, because every family made bread, every single day. When Jesus sat down at a table and reached for bread, he was doing something every mother, every farmer, every fisherman in Galilee did every morning of their lives. Simple, humble, powerful, and deeply, deeply human. Food number 2, olive oil. liquid gold of the ancient world. Now picture this, that same bread, still warm from the hot stone, being dipped into a small clay bowl filled with thick, golden, fragrant oil. Olive oil. In ancient Israel, olive oil was not just food. It was medicine. It was light. It was wealth. It was a sign of God's blessing poured out on His people. The olive tree appears in the Bible over 30 times, and olive trees were everywhere across the hillsides of Galilee, their twisted trunks, their silver-green leaves catching the morning light. Some of those trees were hundreds of years old. In fact, the Garden of Gethsemane, the sacred place where Jesus prayed on the night before His crucifixion, the name Gethsemane literally means oil press. It was a garden full of olive trees. That is how deeply connected olive oil was to the life and story of Jesus. Every morning, families pressed olives and collected that golden oil. They dipped their bread in it. They cooked with it. They rubbed it on wounds. They burned it in lamps to light their homes at night. And today, thousands of years later, scientists and doctors call olive oil one of the single most heart-healthy foods ever discovered. It reduces inflammation. It protects the heart. It supports the brain. The people of ancient Galilee did not know the science, but they knew the truth. This golden liquid, straight from the trees God planted, was something extraordinary. Food number 3, fish. The food of fishermen and miracles. Jesus spent most of His ministry around one place, the Sea of Galilee, a freshwater lake, roughly 13 miles long, sitting in the middle of the land He called home. And that lake was full of fish. His closest disciples, Peter, Andrew, James, John, were not scholars. They were not priests. They were fishermen. They smelled like the sea. Their hands were rough from pulling nets. They woke up before dawn and came home when the sun was already setting. And fish, fresh from that cold blue water, was one of the most common foods on every table in the region. The Bible records Jesus eating fish directly, not once, but multiple times. After His resurrection, He sat by the shore and cooked fish over an open fire for His disciples. The fish of Galilee were typically smaller varieties, salted, dried, or cooked fresh over fire, high in protein, rich in omega-3 fatty acids, brain food, heart food, body fuel. In a world without meat at every meal, fish was the protein that kept communities healthy and strong. And Jesus, the man who multiplied fish to feed thousands, ate it Himself, quietly, on ordinary mornings beside the water. Food number 4, grape wine. The fruit of the vine. Vineyards were everywhere in ancient Israel. Grapes grew on hillsides, in gardens, along stone walls, and grapes were not just a snack. They were a complete food source, eaten fresh in season, dried into raisins for the long dry months, pressed into juice, fermented into wine. Jesus Himself used the grapevine as one of His most powerful teachings. He said, "I am the vine, you are the branches." He chose that image, not randomly, but because every single person listening to Him looked at grapevines every single day of their lives. It was the most familiar, most beloved plant in all of Israel. At the Last Supper, Jesus took a cup of wine and gave it eternal meaning. But long before that sacred night, He drank wine simply, ordinarily, at weddings and dinners and quiet evenings with friends. His very first miracle, turning water into wine at the wedding in Cana, was not performed in a temple. It was performed at a party, because people ran out of something they loved to drink. Grapes and wine in the ancient world were not luxuries, they were daily life. And modern research now shows that the natural compounds in grapes protect the heart, fight inflammation, support the immune system. 2,000 years of wisdom, now confirmed by science. Food 5, lentils, legumes, the protein of the poor and the powerful. Here is a food that most people never connect to Jesus, but it goes back even further than He does. Lentils. Do you remember the story of Jacob and Esau? Esau came home from the fields, exhausted, starving, and he sold his entire birthright for a single bowl of red lentil stew. That is how good it was. That is how much it meant. Lentils were one of the oldest cultivated foods in the entire Middle East. grown in that region for over 10,000 years. By the time Jesus walked those roads, lentils, chickpeas, and beans were a daily staple for ordinary working families. Boiled slowly over a fire with onions and herbs, they became thick, warm, filling stews, eaten with bread, shared from a single pot in the middle of the table. This was not poor man's food. This was smart food. Lentils are loaded with protein and iron, nutrients that hard-working people needed desperately. They are slow to digest, meaning one bowl kept you full and energized for hours, and they were cheap, easy to store, easy to grow, the perfect food for a community of farmers and fishermen living close to the land. Hey, before we get to the last two foods, and trust me, numbers 6 and 7 are the most surprising ones on this entire list. If you are enjoying this journey back to biblical times, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people. And if you are new here, subscribe. We go deep into biblical history, ancient life, and stories most people never hear. Drop a comment below and tell me, which food so far surprised you the most? Now, let us keep going. Food number 6, herbs, bitter plants, the forgotten medicine of the Bible. This one surprises almost everyone. When we think of ancient food, we imagine bread and fish and simple stews. We do not imagine flavor. We do not imagine herbs. But the people of ancient Israel were not eating bland, tasteless food. Their food was alive with flavor. Mint, dill, cumin, coriander, hyssop. These herbs grew wild across the hills and valleys of Galilee, and they were used constantly, in food, in medicine, and in religious practice. Jesus actually mentioned herbs directly in his teachings. He rebuked the religious leaders of his time, saying they carefully counted out 1/10 of their mint and dill and cumin to give to God, but they ignored justice and mercy. He was not making up random examples. He named those specific herbs because every single person in his audience grew them, used them, and paid a tithe on them. Herbs were that important. And bitter herbs, like those eaten at Passover, held deep spiritual meaning. They represented the bitterness of slavery in Egypt. Every bite was a reminder, a memory, a connection to history. But beyond the symbolism, these herbs were ancient medicine. Cumin aids digestion. Hyssop was used to clean wounds. Coriander supports the immune system. These were not random plants. The people of ancient Israel understood, from generations of knowledge passed down through families, that what grew from the earth could heal the body. Food number 7, honey and figs, the sweetness of the promised land. We have saved the sweetest for last, and this one carries one of the most beautiful promises in all of Scripture. God described the land he was giving his people as a land flowing with milk and honey. Not gold, not silver, milk and honey, the two sweetest, most nourishing gifts the natural world could offer. Honey in ancient Israel was wild honey, collected from rock crevices and hollow trees by brave souls willing to reach into a buzzing hive. It was thick, dark, intensely sweet, and it was precious. John the Baptist, living in the desert wilderness, survived on wild honey and locusts. When God first spoke to the prophet Ezekiel, he gave him a scroll to eat, and Ezekiel said it tasted as sweet as honey in his mouth. Honey was the sweetness of divine blessing itself, but honey was not alone in representing sweetness in ancient Israel. Figs. Fig trees grew everywhere, in gardens, beside roads, in the courtyards of homes. Figs were eaten fresh in summer, dried and pressed into cakes for winter. They were so common that sitting under your own fig tree was a symbol of peace, safety, and blessing. The prophet Micah described the perfect peaceful life as every man sitting under his own vine and fig tree, with no one to make him afraid. Jesus used a fig tree in one of his most powerful and mysterious acts, and in some of his most important teachings. The fig tree was not background scenery. It was part of daily life, eaten, rested under, depended upon. And figs, both ancient and modern, are extraordinary, naturally sweet, high in fiber, rich in minerals, deeply nourishing. Together, Honey and figs brought sweetness to a life that was hard and simple and full of physical work. In a world with no candy, no chocolate, no dessert aisle, a fresh fig dipped in wild honey was pure joy. And Jesus, sitting at a table in Galilee, would have known that joy well. So there they are, 7 foods: bread, olive oil, fish, grapes, lentils, herbs, honey and figs, no chemicals, no preservatives, no artificial anything, just the earth, just the land, just what God made growing right outside the door. But here is what strikes me most about all of this. Jesus, the most influential person in all of human history, did not eat like a king. He did not sit at a royal table loaded with exotic meats and imported delicacies. He ate like a farmer, like a fisherman, like an ordinary family in a small village that most people today have never heard of. He broke simple bread. He dipped it in olive oil. He ate fish by a lake with his friends. There is something deeply powerful in that, because it means the most important life ever lived was lived simply, humbly, close to the earth, close to real food, close to real people. And maybe, in a world that has made everything complicated, that ancient table has something to teach us still, not just about what to eat, but about how to live. 2,000 years have passed since that wooden table was set in Galilee. The stone houses are gone. The olive groves have changed. The fishing boats on the Sea of Galilee look nothing like they did back then. But the bread still bakes. The olives still grow. The figs still ripen in summer. The honey is still golden and sweet. These 7 foods outlasted empires. They outlasted centuries. They outlasted everything. Because some things, the simplest, most real, most natural things, were never meant to be forgotten. You just watched a 2,000-year-old meal come back to life. And I think, somewhere deep inside, something in you already knew it was true. If this video moved you, if it made you see something differently, please hit the like button right now. It means more than you know. Subscribe to this channel, because we are just getting started. Every week we go deeper into biblical history, ancient life, and the stories that most people never hear. And leave a comment below. I want to know, which of these 7 foods surprised you the most? Or, if you could sit at that table in Galilee and share a meal, what would you want to ask him? I read every single comment. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.